Let's take a little trip back to the 90s, specifically 91. That is the year that the Peavey Classic 50 was first introduced into the wild. And this specific amp that I'm going to be showing you today is the 410 version. It has 4 Celestions in it. I'm going to show you a couple different recordings, and we're just going to talk a little bit about Peavey and why I chose to buy this little amp about, I don't know, a year ago. I grabbed it off Facebook Marketplace. But let's jump right into the first little recording I have for you. It is a very high headroom, clean, just a beefy, clean tone. And this is where I think this amp really shines, and is basically why I purchased this amp, to be a Fender type amp, the poor man's Fender here in my little studio. But let's roll that beautiful bean footage and check it out. When I first bought this thing, I didn't know a whole lot about Peavey. They were basically the amps that, as a kid and teenager, and guitars for that matter, the Peavey guitars, I would see them hanging on a wall in a pawn shop for the most part for 80 bucks. You know, that's what I associated them as, a beginner cheapo guitar or amp. You know, you have the Peavey Bandits and stuff, the little solid states, and you see them everywhere, especially in the 90s and 2000s. But when I think back to the 90s, when these bad boys, you know, come out, I'm thinking grunge, I'm thinking stuff like Nirvana, Alice in Chains, even 91, the Black Album came out. I'm just not thinking about Peaveys, and I didn't never really pay much attention to them until I started building this little music studio deal I have here. And I was like, man, I don't have a Fender Deluxe Reverb, no Princetons. I don't have any Fenders. I have a Vox AC15, a 30. I have my Marshalls. I have my Mesa. I have some really good sounding amps. And I really would love to have a fat Fender style amp. But I don't really want to pay $1,800 for a brand new Fender Deluxe Reverb. I don't really want to even pay $1,200 for a used one. And, you know, of course, if a Princeton or some awesome classic Fender were to come available, I would probably end up trying to get it. But I was real curious as to see what these Peaveys were about when I seen one on the Facebook Marketplace. The guy was selling this one, and I actually ended up picking it up for, I think, right under 300 bucks. So I kind of researched into them a little bit, and I found that the Peavey, the name Peavey, came from a dude, Hartley Peavey. He started Peavey amps in 1965, and in 73 he actually came out with a vintage series, which was supposed to kind of mimic a Fender Twin, you know, the Fender Twin lines that they had back then. But this one specifically, this Classic 50, came out in 91 with the 312AX7 tubes that are in the preamp section, and then the 4 EL84s. Now, they actually come out with some different ones over the years that look a little different, like a little oval kind of shape with the, you know, the nameplate is different and stuff on it. But I just wanted to make a video showing you guys that a lot of the stuff that I'm doing on this channel, if you hear a fat, clean tone, it's more than likely usually this amp. And I think it really does the job well. You could throw any chorus pedal on there, and as far as I'm concerned, it does the rolling jazz chorus thing for as far as what I need it to do. And it's been a really cool little amp for the price. It's basically my poor man's Fender. But let's check another one out here. This is on my Gretsch, and it's got a little bit more of a rocky edge of breakup kind of deal, kind of bluesy, but see what you think. Okay, you can see on that one, we had a little bit of delay going on and a little bit of chorus, a little bit of extra pizzazz on the pedal board, kind of kicking it up a notch a little bit. But this amp has some really good edge of breakup, and as many people mention, it has really big, it has real high headroom. It's 50 watts, and you can crank the thing, and it's just like a buttery, smooth, clean. And a lot of people will tell you that that's kind of the blueprints for a good amp, as far as an amp that they say takes pedals really well. So this amp, it really takes pedals really well. But let me show you this last one that I did. It's a metal deal, and this is just the guitar, my PRS, straight through this amp, and you're not hearing no overdrive pedals or distortion. This is just the distortion on this amp, just to kind of show you how versatile the different channels are on this amp. It has a effects loop. It has, built-in reverb, has a normal and a bright input section. It has all kinds of stuff that you can really do, more so than even the clean stuff. But as Ola would say, will it chug? Spoiler alert, it will. Alright guys, that is the Peavey Classic 50, and I hope you've enjoyed this video. A couple of other honorable mentions that I've kind of forgot to say in this video that are very important as far as Peavey is concerned is obviously Eddie Van Halen's involvement with him with the 5150. I mean, if we're going metal stuff, they are actually kind of popular in that aspect, in his old guitars and stuff. So when I used to see Eddie Van Halen, I used to think, maybe it's just one of them deals where he's big money and his guitars and his amps are obviously not the ones probably going out to the public. So I still would kind of write him off. But as far as that is concerned, Eddie is probably the bigger, the one to note. So I'm kind of, upset I didn't mention that so far in this video. I kind of forgot as I was recording. But also I read a little thing somewhere that, like in the late 70s and 80s, that I think it was the Grand Ole Opry, which I don't know a whole lot about country myself, but that Peaveys were the only brand amp allowed on their backline. It was like a sponsorship kind of, they had Peaveys and that was it. And a lot of people say that these Peaveys are like the 80s country tone. But like I said, I'm not extremely well versed with a lot of country as far as their gear and this and that. But I hope you guys like this. And don't forget to check me out again later. If you've enjoyed this video, please hit the like and subscribe if you want to see some more like this. We'll see you next time.